Yeah, man, because like when you tell some random guy to teach your kid, like you don't know what that guy is doing. You don't know how they're teaching your kid. That's why like it starts in the household, man. It starts with little stories. It starts with little questions that you ask your kid, like, son, like, why do you think we were born? Like, you gotta challenge the like I don't know if you guys know about bell hooks, but bell hooks says you have to critically think. Like you have to on your own critically think why something is the way it is. You can't just tell somebody that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's like what I used to do. I used to try to convince everybody to be Muslim. Like, nah, y'all gotta become Muslims, or y'all doing this, y'all doing that. But like at the end of the day, my job is to only get people to think, to give the message. At the end of the day, let them exactly. Mm-hmm. That's their own journey that they have to make. That's their own journey. That's their connection. That's their that's how they embark in the world. Interpret it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Quest of the Future Messiahs. We got our whole crew over here, and we got someone to talk to us about the Muslim faith. So please introduce you guys, man.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Hey, my name is Adnan Aurangzeb. I'm a senior here at UNCG, and I'm also the president of the Pakistani Student Organization. And today I got my brother here with me today. I'm going to go ahead and let him introduce himself.
How are y'all doing? My name is Horaira Tahir Kelly. I'm a recent alum at A&T University, and you guys can just call me HT if that's easier, but Adnan invited me on for this podcast to just talk about a few things.
Yes, sir. Let's get it.
So what made you guys get into the Muslim faith? Like, what was the introduction to that?
So the Muslim faith, we were actually born Muslim. Our families were Muslim. We didn't convert or anything. We were just born into a Muslim family, and we learned about the religion. Growing up, we were taught that religion. We went to, we call it masjid. It's basically mosque. It's a mosque, but we call it masjid. Like, it's the church that we go to as kids and, learn everything. Growing up, and you learn the religion and everything, and that's just something we carried while growing up, and we still believe in it.
Yeah, and as far as like converting to the faith, honestly, I feel like each Muslim goes through this at some point in their life. Everyone says that, yeah, I was born a Muslim and everything is, just been that way. But for me personally, especially when I was 18, 19, that's when I actually started taking the religion a lot more seriously. And the term that recently a lot of Muslims start using is the term revert. So we're reverting back to the faith. We were kind of lost on our way. We were doing our own thing, but eventually we found our way back. So even like a new convert, someone who converts to Islam, we use the term revert. Because that applies to me and Adnan too. Because we revert back to the faith at some point and actually really take it seriously and learn on our own rather than what our parents told us and things like that.
Definitely. Just to piggyback on that, when you're a kid, I mean, you can believe what you're told, but obviously you don't follow those rules and principles. You're young. I mean, you don't understand what's really going on. You're just believing what you're told, honestly. And then once you grow up and you look at the grand aspect of everything, you see what's going on around you, and you really go back to the principles and what you were told, and you really actually live by those principles. That's when you actually you can actually tell, okay, I'm actually doing what I'm supposed to do now versus just being a kid and going by.
I'm not gonna lie on that. I hated it when I was a kid. I hated going to the masjid. I didn't because some of them teachers, they used to be like
they had permission to.
They had permission.
They didn't make it fun.
And I went to Pakistan for 3 years.
Man,
over there,
that is brutal.
Oh my God,
that is brutal. They don't play.
What's so strict about it?
Man, it's just the way they present it, man.
Yeah.
They try to force it down your throat.
Yeah.
They hit you. They're like, oh, why aren't you reading properly? Oh, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Rather than letting us learn our own and love the faith on our own, they rather just force it. No, you have to do this. You have to do that. If you don't read it properly, we're gonna hit you. That kind of thing. That's what that's what I mean. When I was 18, 19, that's when I started doing my own research and learning about the religion and not just from the teachers that we had from our childhood and things like that.
Because I feel like, what was you about to say? My bad.
No, you're good. So, what makes you really want to stick to the faith of being, Islam?
I was going to ask that question.
Yeah. So, because a lot of people growing up, what I tend to notice that people who are in a religious family tend to veer away from it once they go and move out on their own. Mm-hmm. So, what makes you want to stick by the religion instead of just doing your own thing?
So of course, all of us at some point, we've always had the question. We've always, whether we're sleeping late at night or we're in the shower, the question pops in our head, why are we here? Why are we living? Why are we on this world? What's gonna happen after we die? And like what tends to happen is like people branch off into two different directions. The nihilism route where nothing matters, you just go down, you do whatever you want, nothing matters, just like there's no point in living. That's the nihilism route. Or you can go down the religion route.
Yeah.
And when you go down the religion route, you tend to turn to faith, that there is a higher being, there is a reason for us being born, and there is, like at that point you use logic and reasoning to come to the conclusion that, okay, no, there is a higher power, there is a God. And then at that point it's just exploring the religions. You know, exploring there's so many religions in this world. I actually used to be a religious studies major at NC State for a while.
Oh wow.
But, yeah, and then I
Shout out to NC State.
Hey man.
He's like, I don't know.
You know, I like A&T, bro. I like A&T, but you know,
gotta add you
Shout
to
out to
house,
Steph.
man.
no man. But no, like what made me personally like Islam more than all the other religions is, for one, it's an Abrahamic faith. But
Yeah.
Abrahamic meaning like, you know, Judaism, Christianity, Islam. We all believe in one God, and we all have the same story, same structure. And the other is the relevance to today's society and the backing of evidence for like the original Islam. When you like study deeply, when you look into the history, when you look at how like some of the stories and how the authentic reports of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, was like accounted for, like you see that this is very, very well documented. Like he's probably the most documented man in history. So just researching, doing that, I like eventually came to the conclusion that like personally for me, this is the one, like this is the faith for me, because
like he said, he did his research on other religions. He was a religious studies major,
which is really good to do.
And on the flip side, I didn't do that.
Yeah.
So I mean, like I just grew up with like what I learned as a youngin. Obviously, as a youngin, I didn't really like go by the principles as much. I was just going with the flow. But as I got older, I really started to go back to those principles, what I learned, and why certain things are how they are. And every time I would have a down moment, or like some low time in my life, just revert back to my religion and make sure I follow those principles. And every time that ever happened, like my life has instantly gotten better.
Yeah.
And like that's why a lot of people really look forward to this month of Ramadan that's coming up tomorrow, which is about to start here soon. Like a lot of distractions are out the way, and it's like the very, very holy month that we just focus on, and just focus on yourself, and you have all the time to just really praise Allah and just do the right things and do the right deeds and everything, and just stay away from all the wrong. So that's, I mean, I just stuck to the religion I was born into, man. I didn't really do too much research.
That's dope.
Sounds like sorry, my bad. It sounds like it's kept you grounded and has given you a foundation
Definitely.
for a lot of things that you do in life, whether it's good or bad.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Like the
Because
structure, like the discipline, absolutely.
Because a lot of people, you know, I can even account for myself, you know, sometimes when I fall into a bad headspace, you know, I'm having a bad day, you know, sometimes because my religion and my faith in Christianity is not as strong as you all's is, you know.
Yeah.
And some of those days I feel like I float alone, you know, and I'm just in the space, you know. I don't really revert back to anything that I've learned from Christianity to help, you know, ground me or, you know, help keep my faith, you know. So it's almost like I'm just going day to day doing a routine, you know, and it's like sometimes you need a little bit more than that to
you need like that. And I feel like a lot of people like, and I really like what you said about the nihilism perspective, and I really do suggest if you're looking for something that works for you, try to find some ideas, because at the end of the day there's so many different things you could really learn from like different religions, because I feel like religions is just stories. It's just stories of like what lessons you can learn. That's from Christianity, that's from really, you know, Muslim, even from really Star Wars, because there is a religion to where it's Jediism, you know, so they learn things. It's so dumb to some people, but they all have stories to where they kind of like can lead people to the right direction. But was there a point to where that nihilism, right, because we all experience, we're all learning, so was there a point to where you felt as if like you're like, man, I don't know, like
Man, I used to have that all. Look, when I was at NC State, that was for me. That was like the darkest time in my life. When I was at NC State, I was away from family for the first time. I was in a campus that I didn't really like. You know, I was at A&T previously, and I loved everybody on campus. I've never had an issue with anybody there, nothing like that. And then I go to a new city. I'm in a new area. Like, I don't know anybody. I don't want to get to know anybody. And I reached that nihilism point. Like, is there what is the point?
Yeah.
I even asked the question like what's the best way to prove God? Like, what's the best way to prove that there is a higher power and things like that? And during that time, I learned things like infinite regression. Do you guys know what infinite regression is? No. It's basically one thing creates another, and there's a stopping point. So think about
expiration date.
Let me give an analogy. So there is a soldier, and he has a target in his sights, and he has to pull the trigger, and he asks his captain. He radios his captain, and he says, "Do I have permission to shoot my target?" And then his higher up, his captain says, "Okay, hold on, let me check with my higher up." That chain goes on and on and on. Like, they keep asking, like, their higher ups, like, "Do I have permission to shoot this person?" At some point, someone says, "Yeah," right? Someone says, "Yes, take the shot." Eventually, he takes the shot. That same analogy can be used for creation. Something has to come from something. There had to be a beginning for where we are right now. That was one of the biggest proofs for God, because concepts like infinity, they just they're sure like infinity is possible, but there has to be something beyond that made that concept for me. That's at the time when I came to okay, absolutely, there is a God. There is a God. And I was exploring monotheism faiths, because there can only be one true God that created everything. And he, for my belief in Islam, we believe that that Allah is separate from the universe. So Allah created the universe, but he's not a part of the universe. He is completely separate, because anything that he creates is within his own dominion, and he can control it to his liking. But an aspect of the creation cannot go back to him, if that makes any sense.
Why can it not go back to him if he created it?
Well, that's the thing. Then in true monotheism, that is the belief that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is separate from the universe, and that he created something from nothing. And he cannot be a part of something or nothing, since he's the one who created it. That's the belief. And then during the time, I began to research more and more about. One thing that really got me to really appreciate Islam and made me really start trying was the life of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. May peace and blessings be upon him. If all of us, non-Muslims and Muslims alike, if we could learn about the kind of life that he had, the kind of person that he was, his interactions with people, objectively speaking, he is the most documented man in history. The most documented man in history. There is no human that has been documented and written down about during his life as much as he was. And each and every one of his stories are a moral base ground on how we should live our lives, and how we should handle situations, and how we should be as men. A lot of our Pakistani men, we don't like doing dishes, we don't like doing any house chores, we don't like doing anything like this. But then you look at the life of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He used to take care of himself. He used to not have his wives do the chores for him. He would clean his own clothes. He would prepare his own bed. He would do all of that on his own. And he had so many mannerisms that we follow. And by the way, this concept is called the sunnah of the Prophet. So anything that he did during his life, we refer to as the sunnah, and we replicate that within our life. So whenever I sneeze, I'm gonna say Alhamdulillah, and then he's gonna say Yarhamakallah. This is part of the sunnah.
Cool.
That's the sunnah. That's what he used to do. So we do exactly what he did.
What does that mean in English?
Alhamdulillah means, oh, thank you, Allah.
Oh, okay.
And Yarhamakallah means, may Allah's blessings be upon you.
So it's like saying bless you, and someone saying,
yeah,
you're like saying bless me.
Exactly.
Like saying bless you.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
So I have another question. So when you was looking at different religions, and you was looking at which one to choose, which one was kind of similar to the Islamic faith that maybe you was interested in, but it wasn't the faith.
Absolutely. So like I said, the rest of the Abrahamic faiths, so Christianity and Judaism, all of these
Okay.
three religions are very, very similar. We believe in the same prophets. Well, in Islam, we believe that Jesus, we love Jesus.
But
Muslims
he wasn't
love
the son
Jesus.
of God.
He wasn't the son of God. He was a prophet of God.
Okay.
Same with Moses, same with Abraham, Adam, everybody else.
So just to clarify on that,
Yeah.
you are right. Like, so God exists outside of the realm of the universe of time, space, and energy. So Jesus himself is pretty much the human form of that. So when he was born, he didn't have a way to like get into Earth. So the way that he did that was through Mary. So he's basically like the human form of like God. So the only way to get through the Father is through the Son and the Holy Spirit.
Yeah,
Basically.
I understand. Yeah, absolutely. I took a lot of Christianity courses at NC State.
I like this. I like the differences. I like it.
Mhm.
So, and again, like, you know, and just talking about the faith. So what do you say to those that are in that mindset of, I don't know which one to choose? Like, what do you say to those people?
I used to be under the mindset that I gotta make everybody a Muslim. I gotta convince you to be a Muslim. I gotta tell you, like, yo, be a Muslim with me, man. Like, do this. But like, and then I thought to myself, like, you know, if Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, if He wanted everyone to be a Muslim, they already would have. My only job is to give the base message, the base rep, and leave the rest to Allah and let Him decide the rest.
What are you about to say,
Disagree
Mark?
with something, bro?
I don't quite agree on that.
Oh yeah.
You can't say that if somebody wanted to do something, they'd already do it if they don't know about it yet.
Of course, absolutely. That's what I was saying. All that I can do at that point is to give them like the message, because in Islam the command is to give dawah. Dawah is the message of Islam. Tell people what Islam is, and like just baseline, not like, hey, like your religion is wrong. Look at this in Surah, in the verse in the Quran. In the final verse of Surah, what do you call it? Kafirun, is lakum dinukum waliya din. This means to you your faith, to me mine. Meaning, like, at the end of the day, you have the choice to your religion, and I can't force anything upon you.
Yeah, but it is a good deed to inform you of our religion, so you know, so you have that option.
Right.
So it's my job to tell you what I know,
Yeah.
so you know what I know, and it's your choice to make that. I can't force that upon you, because that's bad on my end.
Yeah.
But it's your job to choose that. Oh, okay, you're gonna listen to me, and then it's gonna be your decision. But it's always good for us to let y'all know what we know.
You guys have anything to comment?
Yeah, so like with the Islamic faith or whatever, do y'all like believe in like hell or whatever?
Yeah.
So like with other religions and whatnot, they're not Muslim. So like, do you believe like those religions or like faiths or whatever, those people that believe in that, are they going to hell because they're not Muslim or?
Sure, let me answer that. So
Does it depend on who you save? Like, say if you do a good deed for somebody.
Yeah.
Does that depend on like how, like what good deeds you've done for somebody to lessen the sentence?
It's on an individual basis.
Okay.
So in the key, one of the key differences between Christianity and Islam is you cannot in Islam we believe that you cannot inherit sin. So the original sin of Adam in Christianity, it is believed that all infants who are born have inherited the original sin of Adam.
Yeah.
You said it, not me.
Yeah, no, I'm saying it. Go ahead.
So in Islam, what we believe is that all humans, as soon as we were born on the fitrah. The fitrah being like our base state of human, of like how we were born. Like, you know how sometimes when we're in a low place, we have a feeling of calling out to somebody, or if we're like scared, we say, "Oh God, help me," like things like that. And we have we know murder is wrong. We know rape is wrong. We know all these things are wrong. We innately know that. That's a part of our, we know that deep inside, like this is bad and this is wrong. That is the fitrah. This is the fitrah that all men were born upon. So we believe that all men and women were born good. We were born good. We were born as pure as it can be. And it's the world that corrupts us. So we believe that all of us, in Islam, we believe that everybody was born Muslim. Everybody was born Muslim, and we eventually revert back to the faith. And it's the world around us that corrupts us. It's the evil people within this world that corrupt us, and things like that. So to answer your question about the fate of people who are non-Muslim, at the end of the day, all we can do is give people the answer. And after that, it's really their own journey to like explore. You know, of course, someone who's like, you know, who's willfully ignorant, you know, those people are probably like the most like, you know, hard to talk to. But someone who wants to search for the truth, someone who wants to search for the answers, like, you know, they're all around us. Like, as long as somebody is making that pursuit, Allah knows what's in our heart better than anybody. Like, you know, our own thoughts, we don't even understand our own thoughts sometimes, and we believe that He understands that better than us. Like, you know.
Yeah, that's true. So, what does the Quran say anything about, or actually, let me ask, does the Quran say anything about natural born sinners, or like how we're all born, and then like when we raise and like get older, is like we're trying to keep away from that? So do you think it's the Quran more of like a guide / rule book to like, this is what's right and you should abide by this? Or is it more of like, help us, we need, like, we're like natural born sinners and we need to, you know, get better?
Absolutely. So verily, like, our purpose, the purpose of our life, our belief is that the purpose of our life is to worship Allah and Allah alone. Humility lies within men, humility lies within us, but all praise, all glory, all of the high esteemed traits can be attributed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Okay.
And by this, our lives, the reason why we were born, again, was to worship Him. So to worship Him, Allah revealed or sent prophets. He sent prophets throughout history. He sent like Moses, Noah, Solomon, Adam, all these prophets, David. We believe in all these prophets. They were sent to different periods in humanity to remind humanity that your purpose in life is to worship Allah and Allah alone, and that eventually, like, we have to worship Allah. And we believe that the Prophet Muhammad, may peace and blessings be upon him, he was the final messenger. He was the seal of the messengers. The right after, like, all the Abrahamic prophets, he was the final messenger sent to mankind. And the Quran that was revealed to him, this is another misconception that a lot of Muslim brothers and sisters have, is that the Quran was not created. Here's the thing: the Quran was not created. The Quran means recitation. It does not mean book. When you say, if there was a book in front of me, like the Quran that everyone calls it, that is a mushaf. Mushaf means like the written word. When it was revealed to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, it was all through recitation, and he would recite it to his followers, and everybody would have it memorized. And only later did they serialize it into a book, and they made sure it was the original spoken word. That's a whole story on how they verified that. But the Quran is an attribute of Allah. This is Allah's speech. This is Allah's will, and it was not created. I don't know if that's making it a little too complicated, but the Quran itself was not created. It is Allah's speech to mankind.
Basically.
It was passed down orally, and then later on it was put into a book.
It was put into a book. But
like
the actual
the same thing with Christianity. You know, it's God's word, and then it's put into, you know,
like Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to say it, and his followers would like recite it and memorize it with him. But like basically what you were asking, like, we do not believe that people are just natural born sinners.
Okay.
Right? You can't, like, we don't believe that you're just gonna be born, you're just gonna be a natural born sinner. Obviously there's gonna be something in your life that made you act a certain type of way. But the Quran has the answer to every problem that you could imagine in this world.
Absolutely.
Anything that you can imagine has the answer to. And another thing about the Quran, if you erased every mark of the Quran in the written book, we would have it back by tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because there are that many people that have it memorized, and it's that, like, if all of the copies of the Quran are to be erased today, we'll have another Quran tomorrow, exactly the same.
So in the copies, are you saying like, because in the Bible we have the Old Testament and the New Testament. Is it something aligned to that, or it's like the?
So the Quran. So the difference between like the first transcriptions of the Old Testament were 70 years after the crucifixion of Jesus Christ by the Gospels of Mark, Matthew, John, and Luke, and the Quran was there was people called hafizes. Hafiz literally means a guardian. People who were guardians of the word. They had the Quran memorized beginning to end. And at first, that was going to be the case. Everyone was just going to hear Quran recitations from people who were Hafids, and then they would reveal it to everybody, and everyone would have different like surahs of the Quran memorized. But during the third Khalifa, the third leader after the Prophet ﷺ, actually the second, or was it? Yeah, it was after the third leader. The third Khalifa, like a lot of Hafizes died because there was civil war in the Muslims, and a lot of Hafizes passed away. So in fear that eventually, like if there were like the Hafizes to be removed, you want the recitation of the Quran to be more accessible. So that's why they got together all the Hafizes of like in the Arabian Peninsula, everyone who had the Quran memorized, they all came together and they all made sure to write the exact word. There's actually a story of a Quran in United Kingdom. They found a carbon dated Quran from the third Khalifa, the third leader. So that's about 1300 years ago. They found a Quran that was written at the time, and then they went to the local masjid. They went to a local masjid and they brought the pages together and they wanted to verify if it was the exact same word. And by the will of Allah, the exact same word that was in that carbon dated pamphlet of the Quran, exactly the same as the one in the local masjid.
Wow. That sounds like crazy.
Yeah, bro. It's
1,300 years ago, man. I didn't even know that.
So, like, do you ever, and you might have not now, but do you ever, like, whenever you hear, because I'm agnostic. Like, I don't, like, I respect, and again, you know,
yeah,
but I'm, like, agnostic. I believe that, like, this may sound weird, but I believe that, like, you know, people can become that, if you know what I'm saying, but not in a sense of, like, actually become a divine, but
absolutely
just through, I feel like all those books teach people how to be a good role model to benefit society, if you know what I'm saying.
I know what you mean.
Like, I remember Charleston White, he said, these books are not to follow something, it's to become that person that's in that book. It's to be like good role models and stuff like that. So that's why I always say, you know, these books are like good examples on what to be. But do you ever look at this religion as, or your faith, sorry,
yes, of course,
as your faith as maybe another way or another benefit of why people believe in it?
So do you mean like people like take advantage, like societal or political?
You could say that, because when I look at like different religions and stuff, I look at it, it could be how, again, your faith, it
absolutely.
could be how, like, and this is from sociology perspective.
Yeah.
Did you learn that too?
A little bit. Anthropology, sociology, a little bit.
So, like, there was like three main perspectives, which is functionalism, conflict theorists, and symbolic interactionism.
Okay.
So, like, functionalism is when you go and you, like, you have this religion, everyone follows it to benefit society.
I get what you're saying.
Right?
I get what you're saying.
So then conflict theorists is, and this is what Karl Marx said, it's opium to a fucked up world, pretty much.
Okay.
It's to tell people, hey, you know, if you follow this and this, you'll be okay. It's a power grip, maybe.
Yeah.
So for those people that are the leaders, they control you by using that religion.
Absolutely.
And
I learned a lot about that in my Christianity courses.
And then there's symbolic interactionism, which means that it's what you, like, if you see someone with, this is not what I think, they're just maybe creating a scenario.
Yeah, of course.
Like, maybe if they have the clothes, maybe if they're covering themselves and stuff like that, they may think of, like, a bomber, or they may think of, like, you know, maybe, like, is what I think based off of my experiences. That's how I feel on the group. So how do you feel about those perspectives that I brought to you?
So, real quick to respond to what you said about like becoming the person. Yeah. So I implore you, man, learn about the Prophet Muhammad, like peace and blessings be upon him. Learning from his stories, his humility, what kind of person he was, like his honesty, even his enemies, the enemies of Islam, they never called him a liar because they knew of his character before he became a prophet. Everyone knew of his character. Everyone knew what kind of person he was. They were just saying, oh, you're mistaken. They were trying to say that, okay, you're not a liar. There's no way that like Muhammad can be a liar because of the kind of person he was and the kind of like presence that he brought to the people around him. They never questioned like the truth. They just didn't want. It was like you said, more of a political thing. But that's a long history lesson. But to answer the question about the perception, I just want to give like a brief description of Arab society like before Islam was revealed. So at the time, the Arab society that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was born into, it was a wretched society. Women were treated as property. Women were treated as inheritance. People did not see eye to eye. Like, you know, it was just like all evil that you can imagine was widespread. And it was just a very, in modern standards, it was a very backwards society.
Yeah.
And it was Islam that brought these people, you know, morality. It brought these people discipline and gave women rights, gave black people rights. Dude, the very first shaheed of Islam, a shaheed is a martyr. So anyone who's martyred in the name of Allah. The very first shaheed of Islam was a black woman, a black slave woman. Like, this is the rank that elevated, that this is how much Islam elevated the ranks of people during the time. Like, think about this. Like, we talk about MLK, we talk about Nelson Mandela, we talk about Malcolm X, we talk about W.E.B. Du Bois, we talk about Booker T. Washington, Marcus Garvey. But 1,400 years ago, there was a man preaching for black people's rights in a secluded Arab desert. Yeah. And that radiated to the rest of the world. I feel like our schools, our books, popular media doesn't talk about that.
Yeah, because like I feel like to a lot, especially a lot of rappers, a lot of celebrities, black celebrities are Muslim. Yep. And I think it's like, I think now like we see, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, we see like a lot of the other ones as like little whitewash. Now we going back here because this is the only religion that never was propagated into something that was for, you know,
for white people. Exactly. Yeah.
So like,
I actually wrote my research during my senior year was about this as well. At some point, I was writing about Malcolm X's perspective on Christianity, and he said it's a white man's God and it's a white man's religion. How can you ask black people to worship a white man's God when you won't even let us like worship in the same way? We don't even have the same standing that the white churches have at the time. Yeah. And there's actually so many, like, I don't want to get into the conspiracy bubble, but during the 60s, after the civil rights movement, a lot of southern states had a huge funding for churches, for black churches. They, like, because Islam was on the rise within the black communities, and they had to have some way of controlling the population. People, so they funded those black churches like through the roof, just to you know, like woo them like back over, like instead of like having them get closer to the Islamic faith during the 1960s.
Go ahead, KJ.
Dang, I don't even know where to start. Okay, so I get what you're saying about like the whitewash and even your part, because back in, you know, in slavery time in like the 1800s, they were even rewritten the Bible in order to make it look like that black people were supposed to serve, you know, white people and slave masters and all that type of stuff. I definitely see where you guys coming from with that. And even when you said something about martyrs, I actually have a quote here that I always leave on my desktop from Malcolm X. He says, "It is the time for martyrs now, and if I am to be one, it will be for the cause of brotherhood." That's the only thing that can save this country. How can you resonate with that?
Man, I feel like people do not talk enough about Malcolm X towards the end of his life. In our history classes, all we learned about was Black Panther movement, his time with Elijah Muhammad, but we never learn about Malcolm X towards the end of his life and what kind of beliefs he had. I feel like it's always pushed over, glossed over. I remember my favorite quote about him when he made pilgrimage to Mecca. He said, and in these last 3 days, I slept, you can find the quote if you'd like, but these last 3 days, I slept next to a brown man, ate next to a white man, and I prayed side to side with a king, and I sat to eat. I forgot, it was something along those lines. He's saying that I'm sitting with the white man eating, and we're all united in brotherhood, worshiping the one true God, Allah. That's like one of my favorite quotes from.
I have a question, and this is just a confirmation. Yeah. Do you know what he did before? Like, no, I'm not saying it's gangster stuff. You know, I already know that. But I'm saying as like, was there a religion that he believed before?
Well, the original, when he became a Muslim in prison, he was following the teachings of Elijah Muhammad. But Elijah Muhammad would believe that. Like, he didn't look at it with the same perspective of the original message of Islam. He used it as an empowerment method.
For black people.
He used it to empower black people, that we're better than white people, that thing. And Malcolm X was, of course, like, he was with him for the majority of his life.
Until he like slowly
deferred away, and then he went to pilgrimage.
Yeah.
And after that, he was assassinated by the Nation of
Yeah,
Islam.
no, because
he was.
that was like the 5%er movement, like before, and that was like the Black Nation of Islam.
Yeah.
And like pretty much before that, before he went to that was that propaganda.
Yeah.
So which was crazy to me.
It's crazy, and even if you go in history books, like I remember in my U.S. history class, that's all I learned. Like my U.S. history teacher was a racist. Looking back, like talking about all these all these historical people. Like I bet we had like 2 notes on W.E.B. Du Bois and 2 notes on Booker T. Washington, but like all we learned was about his radical this and that. All like what do you call? He was violent. He wanted this and he wanted.
He was more violent than MLK, but that violence was justified. That violence was justified. It was self-defense more than anything.
Yeah.
But I remember also when Muhammad Ali became Muslim before Cassius Clay, now Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
It was just remarkable on how together they were just based off of that. If you get what I'm saying, because Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X, that was the team. So I would like to say so with Ramadan, right? So where did that come from?
Ramadan is so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us 1 month in the year to pause.
Okay.
To pause on all the things that we're forgetting about, all the things that we've let ourselves drown in, whether it's we forget about Allah, and we're so focused on our personal lives that we forget to go back to him. This 1 month serves as a reminder for us, and it serves as a time for us to recompense. Because honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you, when I wake up for Fajr in the morning, the morning prayer, it's hard, man. Those blankets are heavy. It's 6:30 now. It's 6:30, and it'd be hard. It'd be hard, trying to get up and pray and go back to sleep. But during Ramadan, everything just flows so easily. I see this dude every day during Ramadan. Every time it's Ramadan, I see my Muslim brothers. I see the guys that I used to hang out with. We're all like hanging out together. We go to the masjid more often. And honestly, for me personally, the not eating thing is one of the easiest things. Not eating is one of the easiest things. One of the hardest things for me is developing new good habits.
So you're not eating for a month?
It's from dawn until dusk.
Okay. I was like,
No,
I mean, look, I'm scared. I'm gonna have to eat. You know what I mean?
You can't.
No, I don't know. I don't know. I was just clarifying. I don't know.
There's even purposes behind that for not eating and and everything else that we do during Ramadan. I mean, it's the whole month is to make you a better person, a better Muslim, and just be better and be more conscious of who you believe and why are you doing this. You need to figure out what you're doing
to keep you level-headed and remind you.
And just be the best human being you can be. All the good deeds that you can possibly do all of them. There's a lot of things you can do to make yourself a better person during this month. I mean,
that's a fact.
The one thing that really helps a lot, especially me, and I started doing this a lot recently, is just reading the Quran. And that's the actual book. I don't know if y'all ever you can go on YouTube and just sit there and listen to it. You won't understand what they're saying, but just listen to it once. And even by listening to it, it just gives me that feeling everything is okay, it's going to be okay. There's nothing really wrong. If anything, even if I do feel a certain type of way, I can go and put on a verse of the Quran and I will feel much better.
I need to work on that as well. Outside of Ramadan, I barely touch the Quran. Man.
Yeah.
So
I mean everybody has room for improvement, but it's just you got to work to be the best person you can possibly be. Ramadan, it helps you. Some of the things we need to be doing is we need to be giving stuff to people that are less fortunate than us. Be kind to everybody you can be kind to. Lower your gaze. Be covered properly. Just do. I mean, a lot of the good sins.
The good deeds.
Good sins. I'm like, what?
And stay away from the sins. And repenting is a really big thing.
Yeah.
In Islam, you can be forgiven for almost everything except some of the major sins.
Yeah.
Even those. Even those, bro.
Yeah, even those. If you have a pure heart, even those. But Allah will know if you're honestly asking for forgiveness and if you're pure. So
if you know you did some shit and that was
but you gotta actually be you got to have a clean
Like,
heart.
pure accident type of thing. You know?
I mean, that's different. If it's an accident, that's completely
Yeah,
different. Yeah. So like,
And another thing, like, is humility. Like a Muslim that thinks he's a good Muslim, there's no way that person can act like there's no way any good Muslim actually thinks of themselves as any good.
everybody has room for.
Everybody has room for improvement. I can spend every single day praying. I can spend every single day worshiping, and Allah could still not be pleased with me.
Yeah.
Because like it's the sincerity and it's the knowing that you can do better and the knowing that you can, because dude, there's a story in Islam about a prostitute who gives water to a hungry dog. Outside the brothel, she gives water to a hungry dog, and on the day of judgment, Allah will let her enter paradise because of that one action.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying, as in, like, when people do, when people do stuff, but when those people get into heaven, the ones that they helped, don't they say, hey, he helped me before?
Exactly.
That's what I like, because this
Yeah.
guy, it was his rapper, his name is Trey D, he's a Crip, but he turned Muslim, and like he was like, yeah, like when you die, like you do good shit for people, that good shit comes back.
Oh,
Everything.
And that's what I like. I was like, okay,
dude, literally everything is accounted for. When you were 10 years old in the 3rd grade, when you did this, on the day of judgment, everything will be accounted
and that's
for.
due to Gabriel, right? The angel, I guess, doesn't he write down the good things?
So in Islam, we believe that there's multiple angels that do different things. So Gabriel is like the messenger angel. He was the one who would go to. So when the Prophet ﷺ, when he would have revelation, sometimes Gabriel would come to him and give him revelation. Same with Jesus, same with Moses, all the other prophets. He was like the messenger angel. And we have the different angels too, like Mikael, Israfil, Raphael, you guys would know. The other angels for different things. But yes, we have angels that write down our deeds every single day.
Good and bad.
Yeah, we're all born with 2 angels. One that writes down 3 angels. One that writes down the good deeds, one that writes down the bad deeds, and the one that whispers good whispers in your ear.
Okay.
So like sometimes when you feel like doing something good, that's one of the angels like whispering in your ear, like do some good.
That sounds like the good day effect or something.
Yeah.
You're having a good day and you want to do stuff for.
You know what we call that, bro?
What?
We call that iman.
Oh, what?
We call that iman. Iman is like faith or vigor or like wanting to do more. Like like some days, bro. Adnan probably feels the same. Like you feeling like doing everything. Like I'm gonna go to the masjid. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna help out. I'm gonna
that's
get
how
the
3
poor.
a.m. wake
That's
up.
like,
You doing push-ups.
That's like
you doing push-ups.
that's like that good feeling. Iman. Whenever iman is in your heart, like you wanna like do more. You wanna do like stuff for the sake of Allah.
But I have something. So like, I feel like now people that are like maybe fake woke, they're like getting into like the religion for like the wrong reasons. Like I remember like how many wives you can have. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. And so like, can you please, like if you can?
Yeah, of course.
Like the things that like people. So like, can you tell about that experience to just let people know? Because it's not just having 3 extra women.
I'm glad you asked that. I'm glad you asked that, because one thing that we can never do is judge a person's heart or what state they're in. Yeah. Like if I went around saying all of y'all aren't Muslim, y'all aren't praying 5 times a day, y'all aren't even real Muslims, I have committed one of the worst evils. Because I cannot look in their heart and see their faith, what they're doing, what the truth is. You know what I'm saying? Like that's between them and Allah. Yeah. So I can't tell if somebody like if somebody's becoming a Muslim for that sake, like he wants to marry more wives, like I can't say that because I don't know you can't say that you're only a Muslim because of that. No, only Allah knows what's in our heart, and we cannot judge another person's faith like you're not, unless they overtly say themselves like I'm not Muslim. Only then
but
that's apparent.
Say if they did become a Muslim only because of that.
Only for that.
But now that's different. Only for that is different. Versus if they became a Muslim only because of that, but they're following the teachings of like Islam, like they're following everything, and now they're actually like doing what a Muslim is supposed to do. And
but they're doing it, but they're not doing it for the right reasons.
Okay, but
they're not having the right motive.
That's between them and
Allah.
Okay, you can't say anything on that.
I cannot judge them at all. But they do with the 4 wives part. Each wife has to be treated equally.
Yep.
You
have to provide if you give one a car, you gotta give all.
That's
a lot of money.
I know this guy in Pakistan. He has 4 identical houses, and he treats them. They all got 4 identical cars lined up right beside each other.
Oh wow, that's fire.
Yeah.
And like another thing about that, man, I'm glad that you mentioned it. Like we got a society of a lot of cheaters, man. Like a lot of people cheat. A lot of people have multiple like women. Like they or like girls get with like men who just like cheat with other men. So if polygamy is your thing, there's the right way to do it in Islam.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that woman that you married, like that second or third wife that you marry, she has just as much rights as the first like wife. She has to have all her obligations. Exactly. Like, you know, they have rights and they have power over their husbands. Like at any moment they can be like, I want this, and the husband has to provide.
Yeah.
You provided that wife with this, you have to. You're Islamically like you have to like
if they want something, you got to give it to them.
You got to give it to them because like that's the thing. Now, if you have a man who just has a bunch of side women who treats like trash, like, you know, that's like people are more okay to men having multiple girlfriends, but a lot of people like tend to have the be dismayed by a man having multiple wives. But the man with multiple wives, like, you know, he's taking care of those wives. Those wives are cherished and they're all loved equally because you can't love one more than the other. That's the thing. You cannot love one. You have to be equal in everything. And that's why I could probably never handle that. I could probably agree to. I could never.
Don't do that. I don't know, man. I might have one, three.
Hey, man, that's his choice, bro.
That's a tale for a different time.
Nah, but I don't know if you guys have any comments.
So like y'all said y'all go off the lunar calendar, right?
Yeah.
So y'all go like sunset to sunset.
Yeah.
So what do you do like after like the sun sets?
So tonight, like you said, Ramazan's starting tonight. So we start with intention. So tonight we have to intend that we're gonna fast tomorrow, right? And in Islam, if you intend, you're gonna get the credit for doing it. And then when you actually do it, you're gonna get even more credit.
Yeah, double.
So you're gonna get double. So I'm gonna make that intention tonight. Then I'm gonna pray tonight. I'm gonna pray. It's like a long, extensive prayer, especially for Ramadan. That it's called Tarawih, that we pray. So we'll go to mosque tonight. All the guys will be there. We're gonna all pray together with the congregation. All of us gonna pray together. And then after that, I mean, by the time we get done praying, it's like 11:30. On the weekend, we might go hoop or something, play some cricket. At night, go on to like 1 a.m. And, you know, then you're supposed to come home and read the Quran until like as far into the night as you can, right? Until your eyes are drowsy and you're about to sleep. Then that's when you stop reading, and then you go to sleep and you wake up for the morning time. But at night, after we eat at sunset or at sundown, after we eat, I mean, we just relax with the family and just pray, man. I mean, it's not nothing like special, but the feast that we have that's like we look at it like special because I mean, we have like a feast every day for 30 days.
Man, that food be tasting different after all.
Yeah,
like you appreciate food more.
Yeah.
Like that food tastes better after you're hungry all day, you're thirsty all day. As soon as you take that first bite, it's like all of that's out the window.
But the whole month though, we need to be praising Allah, doing the best we can, and reading the Quran as much as we can. Yeah, so
I feel like that makes you a whole lot more thankful.
For sure. I mean, just being hungry. I mean, it makes you disciplined, right? Knowing that I got food in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And who's really stopping me? Nobody around me. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna take one and go.
You can
downstairs.
just hide. Yeah.
That's between me and me, right? Nobody's even around me. Like I could really go eat. I could have a whole meal. I'll go to McDonald's, grab something, and like I'll be good. Nobody would know. But that's between me and Allah. Like
absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
It's like discipline. It's like showing faith. Like you can do it at any time, but you choose to be obedient to Allah. And another thing that a lot of people like are shy to say this, but we truly believe as Muslims, like in Christianity, like everyone is the son of God. But in Islam, we truly believe that we are the slaves of God.
Yeah.
We are worshiping Him.
We are worshiping Him.
We are Allah's slave. We are no slaves of any man, of any like worldly thing. We're not the slave of wealth or things like that. And no man can have that level of dominion over another man. We are only slaves to Allah. That is like, that is our.
And we don't fear nobody but Him.
Exactly.
Nobody but Him.
Oh wow.
Exactly. That's why some Muslim dudes are some of the most confident, fearless people you'll ever meet. Like some dudes, like they ain't afraid of nothing, bro. Like there was a quote, the Roman general, like he asked his count when the Muslims were about to have a battle with the Romans. The Roman leader Herodotus, he said, or not Herodotus, Heraclius. He said, "We have more numbers. We have better weapons. We have the strategists, we have the terrain, we have every advantage possible. So why are we losing to a bunch of no names in the middle of the desert? And one of his councilmen said that, or the one of the leaders of Islam, they said, you face an army that loves death more than they love life. That you face an army that loves death, that yearns for death in the name of Allah.
Really reckless.
Exactly. Like these people, they are willing to do anything for their Lord. And one of the council members of Heraclius said that the reason why they're better than us and they're winning is because they do not break agreements. They don't break promises. They do not gamble. They do not.
They're very disciplined.
They're disciplined. These are people that stay up late during the night praying, worshiping their Lord. And we are a people that have forgotten our way. And then Heraclius, the leader, he says, you have spoken the truth. To his own council member, he says, you have spoken the truth. This is the difference between us and the Muslims invading us. Like he said, that you're absolutely right. We have lost our way. And these are truly disciplined people who are fighting for a righteous cause, other than any manly or worldly cause.
Wow. Yeah,
was a lot.
that's what I'm saying.
That's almost like Sparta, you know, the Romans.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
That's what that made me think of, like the movie 300. Like you going up against an army of 10,000.
Like
Man, if you love that, bro, you need to learn about a Muslim general named Khalid ibn Walid. This man is the only general in all of history to be undefeated in every battle. Bro was fighting in his 20s and retired in his late 50s, he never lost a battle. The guy was, like I said, no names in the middle of Arabia. They're outnumbered. They're like, think about it in this sense. The Romans and the Persians at the time were like Russia and America right now, and Palestine. Imagine Palestine declaring war on Russia and US and winning. That's how crazy it was at the time for the Muslims to be winning against the two world superpowers. And this guy, like, if you look at his like tactics and like his strategy, like there's YouTube videos like by non-Muslims that explain his tactics and how he won like those battles, and all of them outnumbered, and all of them like the odds were like stacked against him. And like a quote that I really love by Khalid ibn Walid, towards the end of his life when he was on his deathbed, his best friend came and he tells his best friend, look at the scars on my arm, look at the scars on my arm. There is not a single place on my body that hasn't had that wasn't inflicted with a sword wound. Why couldn't it be that I died on the battlefield in the name of Allah? And his best friend said, oh Khalid, your name was appointed by the Prophet ﷺ as Saifullah. Saifullah meaning the sword of Allah. If you were
That's
to ever...
His name.
Oh really?
Yeah. Because like my family, some piece of my family, they're like Muslims and stuff.
Oh
so.
wow, that's so
Saifullah.
cool.
Yeah, they call him Saif. Is it Saif?
Same thing. Yeah,
okay.
Same thing.
They call him Saif, but that's his real name.
Gotcha, yeah. So he said that you are Saifullah. If you were to ever fall and die in battle to an enemy, it would mean that the very sword of Allah would have been broken. And that can never be. That can never be. The reason why you never lost a battle was because your name is Saifullah, sword of Allah. You could never lose to any enemy with that name.
This sounds all inspirational. You know?
It is real. It is, man. It's just the time for Ramadan, bro.
Yeah,
It's just the time.
I'm sorry. So
You're good, bro. You're good.
You guys have any last thoughts?
All right, one more question.
Okay.
So, is there different branches of Islam too? Because you know in Christianity we have baptism, Catholic, Episcopalian.
I learned a lot about those.
Yeah.
So yeah, in Islam, there are different aqidas, which is core beliefs, and anyone that has different aqidah is like straight away from the original message. Different madhabs, so like Adnan and the rest of them, like a Pakistani community, a lot of people in Pakistan have the Hanafi madhab, where they pray a certain way, they don't eat this kinds of fish. I follow the Hanbali madhab, and these two are equally correct to the original message. It's just different methodologies. So there's difference in methodology, there's difference in core belief, which is like where you have the Shia Muslims and you have the Qadianis, the people who claim there was another prophet after the prophet. Those are not considered Muslim. So when you get to that core belief difference, then that becomes an issue. But other than that, methodologies, practices, all these other things, these wouldn't be considered sects, but they're considered different forms of worship, because the different scholars in Islam, they all had respect for each other. One of the main schools of thought, like Abu Hanifa, he was one of the first major scholars, and later on, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Imam Ahmad, he has a different like way of different methodology. But when he was describing Abu Hanifa, the other guy, he said he is my leader. Like, that's how much respect that he had for me. Like, he is my leader. That's how much the Muslim scholars had respect for one another. And whenever there were core differences, that's when there would be issues and there was civil wars and things like that. As far as the Shia belief, the main other sect other than Sunnis, which is what we are, the Shias have a political difference. They have a political difference that gets transgressed into more of a religious difference because of the emotional political difference between like the leadership after the Prophet. So to answer your question, there's very few sects, but majority like 90%, 95% of the world is the original Sunni Muslim belief that the Prophet Muhammad brought upon this earth.
Definitely. And that's why I have like a lot of respect for Islam, because they have like a strict set of rules that you must abide by and following Allah. Whereas with like Christianity, like I understand it, but it's like they trying to appease to everyone instead of just following.
Dude, when I see South Park making fun of Jesus, when I see or like Family Guy making fun of Jesus, I get mad. You know, like that's my beloved problem. When I see media making fun of Jesus, when I see social media making fun, I get mad. You know, Muslim, we take that seriously.
Why would you get upset about that?
That's one of our prophets. We believe in Jesus.
No, but I know that, but
like
not in a religious sense.
No, like a disrespectful debate.
Yeah,
like if they're not,
because that's a prophet of Allah. Like we believe in him and we respect him, and he holds a high rank.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not saying due to the rank. I believe that's your prophets. I'm saying as in like, why would you not, like, why would that be a problem for that person to kind of like... It's
we see it as like disrespect. If you look at it, if you think about it, there is no like in this world, if anyone makes a astaghfirullah, a picture of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Muslim world will erupt. We defend his honor. Like, it's about honor and defending like the dignity of that person and the memory they left behind. And so as to not disrespect them, we choose not to depict any of the prophets or any of the, because like the original in Islam, how we believe idolatry came to be was there was prophets sent to the earth, and those prophets were loved by the people. But 2 or 3 generations after the passing, some people would be like, okay, let's make a painting of them to remember them. We'll have a painting of them, and we'll eventually we'll just have it as a reminder. That painting in the next generation becomes a sculpture. That painting in the next generation becomes an idol. The next generation starts worshiping that idol.
Yeah.
So depictions in any form of worldly
objects instead of the actual
that's
person.
how the message becomes corrupted. That's how we believe. That's why we believe prophets have been sent over and over and over again
to give that reminder, this is what it really is.
This is what it really is. Like when Abraham destroyed all the idols in his temple, in his father's temple. Like he was sent as a prophet to tell the people, like, no, we're not here to worship these idols. We're here to worship like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when you have depictions, like maybe not now, but eventually somebody's gonna give that depiction more than it's worth.
And it's propaganda. That messes up.
That messes up because we have to believe in Tawheed. Tawheed is the true oneness of Allah. It's it's the exact opposite of Trinity in Christianity. Like in Trinity, there's the forms of God, but in Tawheed, we believe there's one and only one God, and we have to uphold Tawheed in every state that we have, in every form of worship that we have. We don't need a idol to worship. Our prayers reach Allah wherever we are. That's what we believe.
Yeah.
Sorry for...
No, you're good. No, you're good.
Sorry, man.
Do you guys have any more comments before we log off?
No, we good. We might have to have a part 2.
I'd
love to get Ray on here. Yeah. So if y'all down to do this again, we have another guy who's really good in Christianity. So
we could definitely do a little,
Absolutely. But hey, let me just say real quick, I'm not here to debate anybody.
No, you're good. You're good. It's healthy banter.
Just talking. Yeah. Just talking. Absolutely.
And I do want to say, I definitely have a newfound appreciation for the Islamic faith, because I definitely didn't know a lot about how you all pray to Allah and the things that y'all do throughout the year, and shedding light on that and telling us, everything that you've learned about, you know, your faith and how you respect, you know, Allah, and it's really inspiring, really, because I myself, you know, I have a weak faith in Christianity, you know, and to see how strong you guys' faith is in Islam is, you know, it shows that I have some work to do, you know, and
all praise and glory is due to Allah, man. Anything that I say is just what was revealed to us, what we like practice on a day-to-day basis. Like me as a person, like I'm nothing, man. Like I can't I can't convince anybody. I can't, you know, everyone has their own connection to Allah, and everyone has their own journey that they make. That's what we truly believe, man.
What I was gonna ask earlier, you know, how you said when you were growing up, they used to like beat Islam, like they used to beat it across your head.
Yeah, man.
Even though, you know, do you have regrets about that?
Man, they could have done it differently, man. That's a cultural thing.
Yeah.
They inflicted cultural things on us, and they were.
Feel like you would have learned it as good as you did had they not did it that way.
Yes.
Because you,
Yes, 100%.
100%.
I would have grew up, I feel like, more religious.
Absolutely.
Okay.
If they didn't try to enforce something, because you know, as a kid, if you try to enforce something on a kid and you tell them not to do it,
they're going to want to do
run
it.
from it.
They're going to run from
They'll
it.
run from it. If you try to enforce something, they're not going to try to be under that or something.
Some kids, because you know, that's just like some kids growing up in a very, very strict household when it comes to like Asians in school. You know, like we are not going to play about you and your academics. You know, and you're going to sit here, you're going to read this book, and you're going to do your studies. You're going to be a straight A student, and there's no way around that.
Yeah.
You know, and that helps them prepare for life and helps them do well throughout life. You know, you have your extremes where some totally rebel and some make it to the top 1% of people who, you know, make millions and billions in the world. You know, it's just some people learn differently, and I just wanted to ask if, you know, the way that they taught y'all your religion, you know, made it any easier for y'all to stick to, you know, learning it and gaining a respect for it throughout, you know, like growing up.
More so than how we learned in school and in mosque and everything, I feel like family has a bigger effect.
Yeah,
right.
100%.
On how, like, what my mother tells me at home and how they act and how they pray. Like, they tell us 5 times a day. Well, they tell us 20 times a day that we have to pray 5 times a day.
Right.
Like, they when we were young, like, they would tell us, like, we have to pray, we have to pray, we have to pray, and they would enforce it. Even now, like, they make sure that I pray. Like, they ask, you pray today? Like, they ask me, like, you already prayed? Like, so my family enforcing that helped me more than that culture that I was in when I was young, even though it was something that, like, as a kid I would be trying to run from, but my family would present it to me in a better way than what the mosque would be showing me.
Yeah, man, because like when you tell some random guy to teach your kid, like you don't know what that guy is doing. You don't know how they're teaching your kid. That's why, like, it starts in the household, man. It starts with little stories. It starts with little questions that you ask your kid, like, son, like, why do you think we were born? Like, you know, you gotta challenge the like I don't know if you guys know about bell hooks, but bell hooks says you have to critically think. Like, you have to, on your own, critically think why something is the way it is. You can't just tell somebody that's the thing. Yeah. Like, you know, it's like what I used to do. I used to try to convince everybody to be Muslim. Like, nah, y'all gotta become Muslims, or y'all doing this, y'all doing that. But like, at the end of the day, my job is to only get people to think, to give the message. At the end of the day, let them exactly. That's their own journey that they have to make. That's their own journey. That's their connection. That's their, like, you know, that's how they embark in the world. Interpret it. Yeah.
Cool.
Well, thank you guys so much for the podcast. Thank you for coming.
No, thank you. Thank you for having us, bro.
Thanks for having us, man. Thanks for having us, man.
Again, this is QFM. Please subscribe. Please follow us on YouTube. Please listen to this on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Thank you so much, guys.
Wait, out you.
Oh my fucking god!
That's
like Korean cuisine, and that shit was good.
That boy's feel different now.
I was like, I'm gonna have to pray with y'all, man. For real.
Oh my god, man.